Welcome to Shoot Me Straight. Dave Fields, Eddie Gallagher. We're here with Jody, and I've already forgot your name.
Joey.
It's all good. We'll start
Joey.
with Joey.
Just call me Joe.
Joe.
Joe, yeah.
And
Kyle.
Friends of ours through Joey, who runs the switches for us. And he's came in. They're real successful here and live in 30A area. And we don't know hardly any of their background. 2 kids. You guys started in New Braunfels area. Is that where you guys met?
That is where we met, New Braunfels, Texas.
After college, before college?
No, 15 years ago, after college. So, 17. We met 15 years ago. Met and married in the same year. So, we met 15 years ago, moved here almost 2 years ago now.
In the same year?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it.
You just knew.
We met in February, married in December, and almost divorced 30 times by the next December, probably. Grace of God kept us together, so that's for sure. Yeah.
Were you guys believers when y'all met?
We were, yeah. We, you can tell a story better than I can, but my grandpa's a Southern Baptist pastor. Her grandpa's a Southern Baptist pastor. So are our uncles. We have very similar families, but both come from big families, strong families. Really a great, I would say, childhood for both of us. So, we figured, man, your family's like mine. We're the same person. Let's get married.
Yeah.
Not hardly.
Well, you both come from good, was it Southern Baptist families?
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Which is why you're still married after 30 times almost getting divorced.
That's exactly right.
Like, were they Southern Baptist or were they like Southern Baptist?
Somewhere between the two.
Okay.
Potlucks, Sunday potlucks, not much dancing, no alcohol, It was Southern Baptist.
Real good time.
Oh, yes, real good time. So, no, I'm grateful for it. Like I said, we had a great childhood.
We thought we were raised so similar, but we really weren't. And so then once we got married, we realized how different we were. And my dad's very, very calm and never raised his voice. And then he comes from more of a military style background.
That sounds a lot like my wife and I, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I come from a military background and very chaotic family. I mean, awesome family, but very chaotic. And my wife's family's the complete opposite. Yeah.
They were always high, did great with athletics and everything, and their parents were great with that. My dad was the type that was like, well, you lost, but did you have fun? I'm like, yeah, we had fun.
Yeah, no, we weren't raised like that. No, that wasn't the case, yeah. If you didn't compete on the field, you were calling grandparents to apologize for wasting their time to come watch you. So that's how I was raised.
No pressure.
No pressure. Miss a throw, miss a shot, no big deal, right? But competing.
Yeah.
You can control your attitude and your effort, right? And so if your effort wasn't there, that was not a good ride home.
Wow.
So anyways, so that's us. I'm one of 4. We all played sports year round, and my dad was our coach in most things. So it was intense. It was great, but it was intense. And then meeting her and her family, and her dad. I've still never heard your dad ever since I've known him raise his voice, and so it was polar opposites, right? All those unrealized expectations that you don't know you have.
Yeah.
When you get married, about killed us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did your families approve of y'all getting married?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
In fact, I had several friends and even my mom, I think, when they met him, they were like, if you don't marry this guy, we're going to. He's the greatest thing that's ever happened. So, and we weren't dating. We were not dating, and we were just friends. But I took their advice, and it was good advice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Just took a little bit to realize it was good advice past that first year.
Yeah. And
was it that tough?
Yeah, it was that tough. Yeah, it really was.
It was.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you don't know what you don't know, right? I mean, met February, engaged September, married December. And, I think her default looked like what her parents' marriage did, right? That's all she knew. My default looked like my parents' marriage. And it was so polar opposite of how we were both raised that everything that I would do would trigger her and vice versa. So we had to really become our own, right, and form into our own individual and our own couple. And I guess we got tricked into going to that conference, that Love and Respect conference, that really honestly saved our marriage.
Yeah. My sister had asked us to go to like this marriage conference, and we were like, no thanks, no thanks, no thanks. And we ended up being with them. They didn't have a car that day, or their car broke down or something. We had to give them a ride. Yeah. So here we are, ended up at this conference, not wanting to, and it radically changed our marriage.
It did. Yeah.
Really? Yeah. So what was like, so when you first got married, you said that there was issues, obviously, with the way you both were raised and the different families that you came from. So what were some of like the issues that were happening? Because I mean, the reason I ask, it sounds very similar. I married my best friend. We were best friends in high school, and we had linked up later on in life, and same dynamic. Come from two different families, and we got married very fast as well. Like once we linked up again, it was boom, 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 married within a year, and then it's the yin and yang, right? You have to learn how to deal with each other's differences and the way that you've been raised, and it triggers the other person because they're not used to that. So I completely relate. So what were some of the things?
You want to take that?
I'm really curious of what you're gonna say.
Gosh, I'm trying to think. I mean, I think at a nutshell, like for me and what I think anyways triggered you was, my dad's an intense guy. My dad's autonomy is he's at his worst, he's controlling. At his best, he's a visionary, right? And so no one can tie him down. He doesn't want to be tied down by anybody or anything. So, I mean, obviously we've never had a job. We've been, I guess, self-employed entrepreneurs our whole life. So was my dad. And so that sort of mindset kind of, I would say, on his bad days carried over into his marriage. So then I saw that come out in him on his bad days. Again, my father's amazing. If he listens to this, I hope he's proud, right? But I think at my, on my worst days, that was me too. And so I personally think, you can tell me if I'm wrong, that I would come across controlling, and I would come across, and quite honestly, I would just talk too loud. Like talking like this is a little loud for how you were raised with your dad, right? And so I would always tell her, I'm passionate about our marriage. What do you mean? Like, I can't be quiet. I'm going to be passionate, and I'm going to speak loudly. But it's because I love you. And that never meant love to her growing up, which you can talk about that. But is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I
Is
would
that wrong?
call it like yelling,
Fair.
No, we both had our things. Like looking back, I'm like, we were so young, we were so immature, we were so dumb. And here we are, young, married, trying to figure this out, bringing in our past, and which looked very different. And so your default was to go to raising your voice and treat me one way. Mine was to leave. Like I didn't know how to handle it, and so I just would remove myself, or I just didn't want to be a part. I was like, this isn't what I signed up for. And so it was extremely challenging. But it was when we went to that conference that things changed, because they were talking about how we all speak through a megaphone, and what color megaphone are you speaking through? So like he was speaking through a blue megaphone with his, language, and I'm speaking through a pink one, but it's how we're hearing it. And so we would go to this conference, and he would like explain everything. And I'm like, is that really like how you feel and what you're saying? He's like, yes, I've been trying to tell you this. But I mean, more than anything, I think it was just immaturity and lots of growth needed on both of us. And for me, I dealt with tons of insecurities and probably a terrible mindset. I mean, it was like now these years of growth since then, I'm like, my mindset was like I was living in a dumpster. And so I think it was just a combination of everything. We were really dumb.
Yeah.
Or at least I was.
We kind of still are, babe. We're just,
I think that's normal. I mean, I think that's the beauty of marriage, though, right? Is you're bringing two different people from two different backgrounds together, and you guys, probably love each other and are like, I want to be with this person. And then you have the honeymoon phase when you get married, but then
we didn't have that.
Okay, so you guys went right into it.
We've had that though. We've had that the latter years.
I have to say this because this was said like day one of our marriage. We were on our honeymoon, and like I said, the kind of dad I was raised by is like, honey, sweetie, sugar, how can I help you? Like my dad has his hand in everything and will help all of us. And on our honeymoon, he made the comment, I don't know how we got on this topic, but he's like, I will never be the person that like brings my dish from the table to the sink.
I didn't say that.
Yes, and you said, or much less ever wash a dish. And I was like, what has happened? What are we doing?
And I do dishes every day today, just so y'all know.
Hey, that's all right. That's growing right there.
It is.
Yeah.
But I have to say, all of it chalked up to like us being in a place of like, hey, we're both committed to do whatever. And what's crazy is we look at a lot of people that we know now that have been married 15 years like we have, and they're dealing with stuff today that we dealt with the first few years of our marriage. So I feel like we had kind of an upper hand, that we kind of did go through hell the first couple years, but now it's like we're like madly in love and really like each other and enjoy our marriage, and it's fun, you know, versus
Because you put in the work.
yeah.
That's the key. Because eventually you're going to have to put in the work in marriage, right? If your marriage is like coasting and it's like, oh yeah, well then it's like, well then you're not growing together, right?
That's right.
You can't just coast through life. You got to face your differences and learn to grow together and learn to sort of adapt to the other person, and they have to adapt to you. And you know that takes work.
That's right.
How much do you think was communication? Just her saying something to you, how you hear it.
90% of it.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, 90% of it.
Yeah.
Was one person a communicator and one wasn't?
No. I would almost even say more than that, adding to what you just asked, tone. Tone was really, really big for both of us.
Sure, tone matters.
Because he would say it a certain way and I would shut down, and then I would want to retaliate, or like not retaliate, but like my go-to was just to like get angry, and I'm not a like real vocal angry person, and so it was just like we went from like 1 to 10, and now we've got the boxing gloves on, now we're fighting.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
3 days.
Yeah. It's tough because as a woman, she's saying and primarily feeling something, right? A lot of times it's expressing a feeling of something. As a man, in general, not always.
You're
We
right.
both have feelings and logic, but as a man, we'll prioritize logic, and
Sure,
so we'll
that's
think, well, you know, you're telling me this for a solution, for one, or you like, and we're misinterpreting what she's really saying. She may just be expressing herself. You're like, you know,
Yep.
it's actually easier, I've found. You don't need to solve, like, they don't necessarily care about solving a problem, or
Yeah.
they just want to be heard
Yeah.
a lot of times. Not all the time.
I came into this marriage with a lot of baggage.
Sure.
And I was even told at one point that I was like an unlovable person. And so looking back now, like have gone through so much growth in this marriage, because we're talking like 13 years ago. You know, this is, I'm like, is that really what we did? Is that really who we are? Did we? But it's, I mean, what was I saying?
Did y'all have some like good mentors during that time?
You know, we started going to the Austin Stone. I would say that was a huge thing too. As a church in Austin, Matt Carter was the pastor at the time. Chris Tomlin helped found it, and we were in some small groups through that, and that was huge, absolutely huge, for us. So,
Oh, that's
inside
what
the
I was
church,
saying.
yeah.
When I was told that I'm an unlovable person, I came into this marriage going, if I'm unlovable, then you can't love me. And so it didn't matter what he did. It didn't matter if he was great or bad. It was like, I can prove my case. I can prove my point that you can't love me. And so I think it was just like, as much as we were butting heads, I think it was a lot more of like how I viewed myself and what I believed.
Yeah.
You know?
Who
that's cool
told
you
you
saw
you
that.
were an unlovable person?
That's a hard one.
That's that a hard one? Okay.
Well, that's cool that you see.
There's
those
been lots
things.
of forgiveness there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
To have a wife that sees her own stuff, it's like, wait a minute, I'm setting him up, right? Like, there's no way if he goes left, he's in trouble. If he goes right, he's in trouble. Like, whatever way he goes, he can't win in this. He can't work through this, because, like, that's really cool. Have you had times where you're just like, wow, like, she's grown so much?
Oh,
and-
she's unrecognizable.
yeah.
She is unrecognizable, and I will say this too: she's unrecognizable every year. You know, I mean, we're both really big on growth, really big not being the same person today that we were even yesterday, right? And it's a constant growth on a journey of growth, and so she's unrecognizable for sure. I love it.
Yeah, the value of health in a wife, like a healthy wife, and especially one that's trajectory, like accelerated growth.
That's right.
I mean, dude, that's
Priceless.
possibly one of the biggest decisions besides like coming to know God.
I completely agree. and doing it together, growing together. You know, you can, because one of you can grow and one of you can choose not to.
Yeah.
And that can really, I've seen that. You know,
Well, that'll split a marriage
man,
faster than anything too. Yeah.
Something that I learned a few years ago that like changed my life forever and ever and ever, because it was always his fault. You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest. It was, you make me feel this way, or you did this, and so that's why I am the way that I am, or I feel this because of you. And I got this life coach that has changed my life. But one of the things she said is your thoughts create your feelings. And so if you can track it back and realize what thoughts you're having, then it makes a lot of sense. And he does not get to determine how I feel. It's actually my thoughts about what he did that make me feel the way that I feel. Mm-hmm. And so it's very, very freeing and life-changing that, like, no matter what he does or doesn't do, I can control how I feel based on how I'm thinking. And so I just track it back a lot. I'm like, if I'm feeling a certain way, you know, if you go back and look at your thought pattern in life, it really explains a lot. So you don't have control over how I feel. You can be a turd, you can be a jerk, and it does affect me, but it's how does that make sense? It's how I do
completely.
what he does.
Yeah. I mean, I can relate for sure. I relate more to you. I think I'm more on your side in my marriage than, It's, like because we had the same issues where I would get pissed because I thought she was doing something, you know, or whatever. And it was all in my own head. And I had to deal with all that stuff on my own too. Or not on my own, but we went, same thing, to counseling and just worked through it. And you know, you still work through it. It's never like, okay, we got it. You're constantly growing. Yeah. So that's awesome.
I had no idea we were going to talk about this today, by the way. We haven't talked about this in a long time.
No, we got right into it.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think a lot of marriage, it's, for some reason, it feels like a lot around here have like really struggled. I've seen it a lot through our church. It's just a lot of marriages struggle. I think it's probably one of the biggest things in America nowadays is like struggling, just the family unit. Struggling families.
I would agree.
It like breaks my heart. And I think we're so passionate about it because we did kind of go through hell. Yeah. You know, if our story was like we got married and we were in our honeymoon phase and it's just been easy since, you know, because I feel like marriages are either like terrible and you're not pursuing like growth and change, or they just give up and quit. And so it is sad. It is sad because I don't meet very many people that are like, I'm in a marriage where I'm like thriving with them. And like you said, one person's growing, one person's not. And so,
but I think we can't leave out like the main ingredient though, right? Like we say, and everyone obviously says this and knows this, but you got to be right vertically before you can ever be right horizontally. And we heard somebody say one time, you know, he's our number one, right? Our relationship with the Lord is our number one and comes before us and has to. And we have to both understand that. Then you're my number two, right? I'm her number two, and our kids are number three.
Yeah.
And if you don't keep that priority, because obviously their kids can become number one in their life, which then totally wrecks it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I don't think there's anything that we've done better for our kids than have a good marriage, a great marriage, man. Amen. Like we have worked on our marriage so much, especially the last 3 years. I feel like we have our 3 years. We've had our 3 years, the last 3 that you had in the beginning. Y'all are lucky dogs. But like our marriage, like you see it play out with the kids when the father and mother are in love with each other, on the same page. There's nothing that my kid's going to say that I'm like, well, what'd mom say? I'm not, unless it's a absolute critical once, which hasn't really happened, that I need to overrule for the betterment of the whole family. No way. Like, we're on the same page and we're supporting each other.
It's awesome.
And you guys aren't going to, and our date nights and our time, like, that's precious and I'm going to guard it. You know, you'll be okay. Like, it'll stop bleeding. Just go.
Yeah. We feel the same way.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I think that is probably one of the greatest things. We've always, even through our hard times, we've been on the same page as far as parenting. Always. Is exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
And so, that's been crucial. And then we have dates every day.
Yeah.
You know, we shower together every day.
Yeah.
And we sit out. I know it's weird, but we like literally sit in the shower and have a 30-minute conversation, and it's like our date for the day. And
that's awesome.
I mean, some of the best times, especially
that always
in the last
sounds
years.
so weird because we'll say it to friends, be like, "Oh yeah, last night we were sitting in the shower," and they're like, wait, I've seen your shower. You don't even have like benches in there. We're like, oh, we just sit on the floor.
Yeah.
And that's just where we talk. And the kids leave us alone and our phones aren't ringing and we just. Yeah.
But just those little connection times have been huge for us. Huge.
Yeah.
Because we're all busy.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
the day can get away from you and or take you away from what's important.
That's right.
If you let it. Yeah.
And we always talk about how with our kids raising them, how it's caught, not taught. And so I'm like, if we want them to grow up and have a good marriage, then they have to catch it. We can't just sit here and be telling them like, here's how to do it. And here they need to see it. And so they're at the age now where they'll just kind of roll their eyes and they're like, oh my gosh, just get out of here with your kissing and all this, but it's fun.
Yeah. Get a room.
That's right.
Get a room.
Get a shower.
Yeah. Get a shower.
Yeah.
Check.
We've been filming these podcasts, and that's like the ongoing joke is like, maybe we should just start filming them in the shower because that's where we do all our talking.
There you go.
It just has to be like neck up.
That's right.
That'll be something unique.
No one's done that before, huh?
Yeah. So Love and Respect Conference, I've heard of it. What was so like impactful? You mentioned the microphones, the blue and the pink, learning they all communicate differently.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. Number one, every time I speak to her, she's hearing it through pink earphones as well, and every time she speaks to me, I'm hearing it through blue. And they were basically saying through this conference is to love a man, you have to respect him. Most of the time, not always, but most of the time they want to feel respected, not in a domineering way at all, just have respect for them. And the wife just wants to know that they're loved above all else, right? And so learning to communicate in that, like, when I see that, for example, if something happens and I can sense that something's not right with her, I know a couple things, exactly what you just said. She wants to be heard, She wants to be validated. Okay, did I hear you right? And am I understanding this right? And
You're making me sound so high maintenance.
No, I'm not. And then you want to feel loved. Am I right?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And I don't necessarily want all those things. I just want to make sure that you still respect me, like as your husband, right? And okay, yeah, we're good.
Yeah. I was sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're good.
I was listening to something the other day, and it was like the biggest thing, for a man, like the biggest compliment a woman can pay a man, like when you're married, one of the biggest compliments at least is she tells a man like, hey, I feel protected when I'm around you. You make me feel safe. That right there will like put, a man over the moon. Be like, okay, then I'm doing my job like out of anything else, because that's really like one of our main roles is to protect the wife and the family. And you want to feel that way, like you're providing that at all times. And the second that you don't, and then your wife's not, telling you that she feels protected, or she's acting in ways where you're like, dude, I'm not doing my job. That's where it can really start fading, away. So I heard it, on another podcast, but it, rang true. I was like, oh, that makes sense.
I can agree with that for sure. You do a good job protecting us. Except for at night. He doesn't lock the doors at the house.
Sometimes I forget.
That's
come on in, baby.
That's on purpose. Exactly. He's like, come get it.
Come on.
Yeah, as soon as I feel like I'm getting it down, and my wife will start saying something, and I'm listening. They're like, tell me more. Get it all out. Like if I see it in her, I will proactively go after it and go, hey, what's going on? Like, get it out. Tell me. I do it about every 3 days. Right? Even last night did it. And like, what else? What else? Oh, nothing. That's it. Like, no, what else? Like, until I see the glow, until you have that glow, I'm not stopped. Like, I'll sit here all night. It's up to you. Like, and dig, and then pretty soon there's something else. And it's like, okay, when we were driving, you were quiet on the way home, and you were mad because I said this and this. And like, the truth is, when we were driving on the way home, I was thinking of jiu-jitsu, and like, I'm like, how did that guy pass my guard? And like, I should have looped my leg to the and I wasn't thinking, and I even like have to take a second of remembering what she's saying. But if I say no, that's not what I was thinking. I was thinking about jiu-jitsu. It's almost like it's not that I said something wrong, but I missed it.
Yeah.
I missed it because it doesn't matter if what I was thinking was right or wrong. What she's trying to tell me in that moment is I'm feeling this. And it's kind of like, do I matter Or do you care for me? You know, it's this. That's not the message I heard. I heard you were quiet and you were thinking about this, deep. And I'm like, hey, let me clarify this, and problem solved. That's the problem. It's not a problem. You know, it's a wife, and so like listening and just being like, got it. I hear it. I see how you thought that. Like, what else? Like, this is what I hear, and it's crazy. When you don't offer, it's like all of a sudden, whoa, she feels, it's similar to like her going, hey, I feel safe and protected and provided. I feel like when my wife says like, you're an incredible leader, like stuff like that, I mean, that's sexy. I mean, that's the best, right? And it's like that for her in those times. And I think the guy, from what I've seen, it's like the guy has to understand that framework and like I have to like almost put that on. I'm like, okay, no, we're not. Like I have to think through that framework. And a lot of times like I'll miss it. I'll be like, no, I wasn't thinking that. And I'm like, crap, I missed it.
Yep.
You know, and I'm like, hey, I missed it, and just rewind with it. But it becomes more and more easy to like how you communicate, how you hear, and it makes the world a difference. And it for guys out there, I mean, it helps with sex. Like women feel more open, they're more receptive, like they feel cared for. Those things super play into sex. And so for guys that are like just looking at the woman going, I don't know, they constantly feel stuck. Sure. I feel like a lot of men feel stuck. They just like, this does not make sense. Yep. And women are going, I don't feel.
Yeah, something he's done more recently, because I would say something and I feel like I need to just like talk, and not a solution to anything. I just need to talk. Yeah. And, you know, he would kind of, I'd be done talking. He'd be like, okay, you know, sorry you feel that way or whatever. And I'm like, no, I don't want like an apology or anything. But something you started doing, and it helps so much, is you're like, okay, so what I hear you saying is, even if it's only like 15 seconds. So what I hear you saying is, and I'm like, yes.
You were listening.
And then like all the weight is off my chest, and let's move forward. Let's do it.
There you go.
Yeah. Have you guys ever seen that movie, This Is 40? With Judd Apatow? You ever watched any of his movies? 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up.
I've seen those.
This Is 40 it's like my wife and I's one of our favorite movies, because it's like a perfect depiction of marriage. Like in your 40s, they have kids, and just it's the whole thing where they get in arguments, and he's like, we're not supposed to talk to each other that way. He's like, this is how we're supposed to talk to each other. Like, you make me feel when you say this. And then they just go back and forth. And she's like, well, you are a piece of shit when you say these things. And he's like, that's not how it works.
Oh, man.
That's good.
It's a great movie. You guys got to check it out for sure.
That's hilarious. Paul Rudd, isn't it?
Yeah, Paul Rudd.
Yeah. That's so funny.
So you, if I remember, you went to the Naval Academy, right, for football?
For a few years. Got hurt and came home and met her, but I did for a few years.
Okay. Was that something you wanted to do growing up? Like,
no, I never thought about it, honestly. I just wanted to play. And so my whole goal was I just want to play Division I football, you know, somewhere. And I was quarterback in high school, and our center got recruited by the Naval Academy, went up there and played. So then they recruited me the year after. So did a year at the prep school in Newport, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Absolutely miserable. Below freezing, I think 6 months out of the year that I was there. And then 2 years at the academy, got hurt my sophomore year, Army-Navy. Could not play again, and ended up coming home and meeting her. So, yeah, I went.
So there was no, like, service that you needed to.
So when you sign a 2 for 7, first day of your junior year, you sign saying I'll finish 2 years of school here, and then I'll serve for a minimum of 5. And I tore my ACL, my MCL, my PCL, my meniscus.
Jeez.
And I was a good enough athlete at 100% to play and play well, but I was about 70%, and I wasn't that good. So I couldn't compete anymore. And so it was all summer long. It was kind of a process of what am I going to do here? At the academy, you're either on the football team or you are not on the football team. And it's totally different, totally different life. And I felt like, man, I'm going to be getting into a totally different world, that leaving all my brothers and going over here that I was not planning on. And so anyways, long story short, I mean, the Lord led me home, but
Nice.
Yeah. So came home.
That was just, you went from playing football, being in college, then all of a sudden home, married, and
Having to validate and listen.
That's right. Exactly.
That sounds rough. That's rough. The way you just put that, I'm like,
I've never
wow.
thought about it like that, actually.
well, it's a shock. Like, that's a whole, like, shock. That was probably just a season of deep growth.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I think one of the reasons why our marriage was like it was is there was not a lot of growth. I don't think I really understood growth the first few years of our marriage and what that looked like, and bettering myself. And so that's probably that was to my detriment.
That's a really good point you make. I've never thought about it like that. Like going from your whole life pursuing a career in athletics, going and playing, living out your dream, getting hurt, and it all come crashing down and coming home and then getting married. And I just want to be heard.
It's very different.
That's very different. Like he was like, I just want to throw a ball and tackle people.
Yeah.
One of Dave's side jobs is marriage counseling. You guys will get the bill in a couple weeks.
There you go.
Yeah.
Bring it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But so y'all been married for how long now?
This year will be 15 years.
15 years. When did y'all move? Did y'all move from there to Santa Rosa Beach, or?
We did. Yep. We moved from there. Yeah. My dad was a builder, and 30 years ago built my grandparents a home on a bluff of a river there in Texas. It was beautiful, and Joe and I actually bought that from them in 2018, I think. Built them a home across the street. My other grandparents were a mile down the road. My parents were 3 miles. Both your sisters were 5 miles. I mean, our family, we did everything with our family. I was born and raised there. And so, when we left to come here to Santa Rosa Beach, it was a drastic shock. We left everybody and everything. But yes, we lived there. We moved here Christmas Day 2 years ago. So coming up on Christmas Day.
Yes.
Was your family's like, you're betraying us, like leaving and taking the grandkids? And
I think that's an understatement. Yeah, they were. They love us and supported us, but they were very, very sad.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then we were questioning too. We were questioning what we were doing because we're like, is this really what we're supposed to be doing? Like, we have an incredible family. We live right there with them, and okay, Lord, give us another sign. Give us another sign. Is this where we're supposed to go? But we felt very called to here, and He did. It was like door open, putting people in our life, and really, it was very obvious to us that we were supposed to be here. So
yeah, we started feeling I don't know if you ever felt this way, but we were not at home in our home. If that makes sense. It was during COVID, which that didn't really play a big part in it. I mean, we honestly were really blessed through that and didn't have to participate in that like most people. We had a good community around us, and it was awesome. But there was just something about it that home wasn't feeling home, and we kept vacationing here, and every time it got harder and harder to leave. And then, eventually we started praying through it and kind of considering what it would look like to move here. And when we moved here, in fact, we bought a home and we said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to keep our home in Texas and Airbnb it. We're going to buy a home here. We bought a fixer-upper. We're going to renovate it for 6 months, put our kids in school, have fun for 6 months, and then see, sell the home probably, hopefully make some money, and then we'll go back. And 6 months in, we ended up selling our home in Texas and making this home permanent. So, it's a cool story, cool transition, a lot of faith, a lot of trust in the Lord. A lot of, I don't know about you guys, but I want to see steps 1 through 10 before I move on something big. And God was very clear. He was showing step 1, and I could not see where step 2 was coming. Mm-hmm. But it was very obvious. God was saying, if you will take step 1, I will show you step 2. And step 2 was pretty radical. And He did. We took step 1, we let our option period expire and made a decision to buy the home. And then step 2 happened 24 hours later, We ended up selling some land that we needed to sell in order to make this transition that wasn't even on the market and that shouldn't have ever sold. And it's just story after story, as you're saying, of us moving here.
Yeah, it really is a cool story to see how God just went before us. And there was even a time we put in an offer on this house that we're in now, and we were like the third offer. It was a backup offer. Anyways, it all ended up working out. But it was just really cool to see. There was even a point where you went and met the realtor and was like, we're not doing this. We're not doing this.
I did. Yeah.
And so I was like, okay. And I told you, I said, whatever you decide, if we're moving here, I support it. If we're not, I support it. I don't want this decision on me. And so
No pressure.
But he's like, I'm going to tell the realtor we're not moving here. I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to go with you. You can go by yourself to do that. And then he called me about 2 hours later and said, we're doing it. Come over here and let's, But there was just so many things in that we really, really experienced God. And so it was just, it's cool. It's been cool. And then it's been probably the most growth in our life and marriage since we've moved here. And so.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like moving away from when you've grown up with your family and you're that close knit, the whole family, that's kind of your family system. And moving out of that, I mean, across several states, like that part right there, do you think that was the big struggle that you were having with, like
Most
behind
definitely.
the scenes?
Most definitely. Yeah. I was leaving everybody. Yeah. I mean, you thought we would have stayed in that home forever, right?
When I married him, I knew I was like committing in blood that I was going to be a Texan because I was born and raised in Florida. But marrying him, I was like, I'm committed to be in this house for the rest of my life. And I was fine with that. Like we had fixed it up and it was amazing. We loved it there. But it wasn't until I came in one afternoon and realized that like he's leading us moving here, which made it a lot easier for me because, I would have never probably been like, let's move to Florida. And I came in and he had an 8-foot, about the size of this table, 8-foot whiteboard, and he had drawn a map, which he is like the most least creative person ever. And he went and printed out pictures of every house for sale because my one thing was like, I want to be on the water. So high maintenance. And so he's like, I don't care what house it is. You have to pick one of these and let's go.
There's 10 houses. They're in our budget and they're where you want to be. You pick one, we'll move. But I'm going to buy one of them. Come on, let's go.
She walks in, you got like strings attached to different ones. It's like a crime scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we had initially come here to purchase a condo for like investments, and he pulled into a house on the bay. So we were here looking at stuff on the ocean. He pulls in on the bay to a house, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, just come look at this house. I've been looking at it for like 3 months, and I just really, come look at it. And I fell in love with it, and then that's kind of where the conversation started. He was like, would you move here? I'm like, no way. No. Like, we just renovated and bought the grandparents' house and everything, so.
Wow. But yes, I mean, that was the struggle. Leaving the family for sure.
Yeah.
And that's still the hardest part, honestly.
Yeah. It's tough in those, like, especially smaller town and small families. But man, I think it's really healthy for a couple, in a sense, to like they get married and to at some point go physically away. That no one's there, like that they have to figure it out on their own. They have to do it by themselves. And no matter how healthy you get, in a sense, like being around family brings out the old stuff and old systems and all that stuff.
Is that true, babe? Yes, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I think it helps you grow as a couple to sort of break away from all that. I mean, we did the same thing. My wife's from Indiana. Her whole family is there. I'm the complete opposite. I grew up a military brat, so we moved every 2 years all over the world. So I never really had like a home where it was like, I'm around family, but she did. And we picked, I pretty much took her from Indiana and was like, we live in San Diego, and then ended up coming back out here. And it's funny, like listening to your guys' story about moving out here and how much faith you had in God, and it was like a God thing. I feel like this place is very special because your story's not unique. I've talked to many other couples that have moved out here, and it's almost the same thing. They're like, dude, it was a God thing. Like, we didn't want it. Like, we didn't know if it was going to work out. We just followed, our faith, and it ended up working out, and now we couldn't be happier. I mean, I think there is something very special about this area. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's a common theme. I mean, we have, 15, 20 friends, couples, families and stuff that we know, and almost all of them have our similar story.
Yeah, ours is very similar to yours as well. I mean, we picked a house out online, and we're like, let's just do it. And I was the same. I was like, dude, I don't want to do it. Like, I was completely uncomfortable. I was still in the military, and I was like, what are we doing? But, my wife's like, this is going to work out. Like, we're going to go. And, I was like, all right. And yeah, like it worked out for sure, but it's stressful, move in, packing up all your stuff, moving from a place that you've been comfortable in for how many years, and you have all of your friends and everything else. But at the same time, that uncomfortableness is what helps you grow.
Die in your comfort zones, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I'm with you. And I think that's what we were doing. We were dying. We were too comfortable in every area of our life where we were. And it was just a slow death. And so
Yeah.
I think we needed it to break through that.
Who was that? The Adam Davis, the guy we had on. He was talking about being, if you're comfortable, then you're dying, and because he was like, who's
Comfort's reserved for the dying.
Yeah, he's like, if you're dying in a hospital, the biggest thing is make them comfortable before they die, and he's like, and that couldn't be any farther from the truth. I mean,
well, you're not dying. I'll tell you that. You're running marathons every day.
No.
I'm trying.
I was going to say, you're not getting comfortable at all. 200-mile run over here.
Yeah.
Holy.
Do you get comfortable with 20 miles?
No, I think, that's like the same thing. I think every day you should choose to do something uncomfortable or to challenge yourself in some form or fashion. And that's the way I look at it. Like this morning I got up and, yeah, the last thing I wanted to do was go run 20 miles in kit. And I was like, all right, I can either make excuses, and there's plenty of excuses, like, oh, my body hurts, I didn't get enough sleep last night, I can take a break. Or I can take that first step forward, start this run, and then at the end of it, you've accomplished something, you feel that much stronger, and the rest of your day is like downhill, right? But if you don't choose to do that, if you don't choose to make yourself uncomfortable, and I call it seeking battle, right? You should always look to seek battle, like in some form or fashion. Otherwise, it's going to seek you out. And if you haven't prepped yourself mentally or physically to take on that battle that's coming towards you, then yeah, you're gonna be in for a world of hurt. But if you choose to seek battle every day in some form or fashion, whether it's physically, mentally, spiritually, that's just better preparing yourself for the obstacles life's going to throw at you. And that's the way I look at it when I get up in the morning. I talk to God first for about 20 minutes, just have some time with him. And then I go about my day seeking, uncomfort, or whatever.
Yeah.
Seeking being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Discomfort.
Yeah. Discomfort. There you go.
That's so good. I tell our kids all the time, to your point, I say, if you'll do the hard things in life, your life can be relatively easy in some areas. Meaning you do the hard things, you do what other people won't do, right? And you can be blessed enough to have some of the things that most people won't have. It's hard to do that.
It is.
It's hard to be disciplined in your health. It's hard to be, working out when the sun's not coming up. But you do those things, your health is relatively easy. Your body stays in good shape, right? You function. It's same thing, same principle with business or with anything. So
yeah, that leads into everything. And like I was talking about, like spiritually, you can take care of your body physically, and that's great, but it's really up here mentally that you're training yourself. And motivation only lasts for so long. You can be motivated for a week, like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym and start working out. And you see it, whatever, the January 1st of every year, everyone goes back to the gym for that first couple of weeks, and they're like, I'm motivated because this is what society tells me to do. I got to do my New Year's resolution. And they only last about a week or two. They don't give it enough time, and they're not consistent enough with it to become disciplined. Because like I talked about, like, motivation it'll go away, but if you do it long enough, then it becomes discipline. Then you're doing it out of discipline, and you will do it regardless of how you feel each day. You'll get up and be like, nope, this is what I do to better myself.
That's right.
And that's what I preach to my family, and they've all taken that up as well. So it's good.
Do you see that do y'all see that? Because I know just y'all's background, entrepreneurial and doing MLM stuff. Do y'all? You see a lot of people that, when they're watching TV and when they're chilling and doing all that stuff, you're hustling, and you're hustling, and you're hustling, and during those breaks, you're hustling, and even when you're relaxing, your mind still a lot of times is thinking through stuff. Mm-hmm. And now you get the benefits of it, right? Mm-hmm. Later down the line, it's like, hey, after this podcast, if you guys wanted to, you can go to the beach. You can go do whatever. If you want to take a trip in the middle of the week, you can go take a trip during the middle of the week. And then do y'all have a lot of people, or see a lot of people that they'll look back at that and be like just jealous and bitter and like, you know, they don't see the journey.
The famous line is, "You got really lucky." I'm like,
Yeah, they did.
Overnight success of 40 years. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, I'm a strong believer that success always kind of looks lucky to the outsider that doesn't really understand it. But I think that the successful people in anything, but you call it business, the successful people, I think they wake up earlier and they work harder and they work later than anybody else, and they go to bed every single night wondering if they did enough. But I think that people that are maybe don't find that success, in my opinion anyways, they have a little bit more of an entitlement mentality to where they do just enough to get by, and then they go to bed every night thinking they're owed something. It's a totally different mindset. And I'm sure you're friends with these guys, Extreme Ownership. Have you read that book by Jocko and Leaf? Yeah. That book. I've tried to always live like that, but that was a radical change, I think, in our life. I mean, once you know, Tony Robbins says your life changes in a moment when you change your expectation to appreciation. And I think the moment that you also, you know, take extreme ownership in every single area of your life is the moment that you actually gain control of your life. And so, yeah, we try to. So yes, to answer your question, we see people that you know maybe are envious of others or maybe wish and think luck was here. They don't have extreme ownership.
Yeah,
you know.
I grew up trailer home, West Texas. Like I was in the beginning, like we weren't super poor, but for sure had kind of poor man's mindset all around me. That was very much, you know, these wealthy people, and you know, how can they live with themselves, and like they're just horrible, bad people. And what I've found, because becoming successful in the world's eyes, and and the more and more I've gotten to know, like, I don't consider myself, like, I don't know if there's ever a point you're like, oh man, I'm wealthy. It's like, no, I know people that are wealthy. Like, but the more that I've gotten to know them, they're some of the most generous, especially with their time, right? Because you talk to someone that's been successful. I imagine you guys, like if I was going, hey, I want to pick your mind around business stuff, like help me. Like you almost want to always give back and help mentor people, and you want to see their success, and that they're so giving. And with money too. I've seen some of the like most generous people that were really successful because they've built in that discipline.
That's right.
And they've had other mentors and other people build that into them along the way.
When I was younger, I almost had an outlook on money. Like I always say, money doesn't drive me, and it makes me like kind of uncomfortable because that's the perspective I had on it, where it's almost like a bad thing to want to make money. And so when we were living a very stressful life because there was always more month than money, I just thought that was normal. And like, this is just how life is. And it's great. There's so many blessings, you know, but we can't afford diapers for our kids. And I realized, like, especially for me, like God has placed something in my heart where I want to make a difference, and it takes finances to do that. I don't know if y'all follow Jimmy Darts, but he's like the guy that just goes out and basically like blesses people and gives them money and like gives them a car or whatever. And a bunch of people donate, and it like rocks my world because I'm like, if I could do anything in the world, that's what it would be. But here I've had this perspective my whole life of like, money's bad. Don't strive to make any money. But yet then we're like, man, if you make a lot of money, that's a lot of money to be able to give back and make a difference. And so I've definitely have had a massive perspective shift on money.
Yeah.
Like I don't necessarily, it's not what drives me for me, but it drives me to know that it's a really powerful tool that you can make a difference and give back. And
it's a tool.
Bless others. Yeah.
And it exposes your heart.
Yeah.
It's I feel more of a responsibility. Like the more, it's like more responsibility to manage it well, to use it well. You know, sometimes it's like give that person a car. Sometimes it's like, maybe you don't give them a car. What they really need, right, is maybe some help to develop disciplines, and like you're really wanting to, if you're really trying to help people in success, like set them up for ongoing success. It's a responsibility.
No question. And it's the biblical principle of, you know, you have to be faithful with the small things if you ever want the opportunity to be faithful with the bigger things. It's so true. And so, I mean, I think that's even, you know, in our poorest days, I like to think we were faithful with what we had, you know?
Well, that's it, like tithing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's huge.
Absolutely. My grandpa tells a story all the time. Again, Southern Baptist pastor, but, you know, there's a guy and, you know, used to make $40,000 a year and used to tithe and, you know, just regular every single month, and then started a business and grew it and had some wild success and grew it to $4 million a year, you know, but stopped tithing and was kind of talking to the pastor about, well, I can't tithe now. That's $40,000. That's more than I used to make, you know. I can't tithe that much money. It's way too expensive to tithe. And he was asking the pastor for help. And the pastor said, well, let me pray for you. I'll pray for you right now. So he goes and he starts praying. He goes, Lord, I pray that you convict this man's heart and that you take his income back from $4 million to $40,000 so he can start tithing again, you know? And it's like the whole mentality of that. And so, yeah, I think.
He's like, wait.
Absolutely.
Because tithing is an act of faith.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I always say, if you're not given when you don't have hardly anything, you're not going to be given when you have a lot.
That's right.
But I also remember when we had very limited funds, like I would see a need in somebody and I didn't feel like I could do anything about it, much less get a birthday gift for people or anything, because things were just really tight. Yeah. So now, not only being aware of it, but being able to take action to do something when there's a need is just so cool.
Money's not bad. It's the love of money. And I think Christian culture's twisted that some, in probably both ways, right?
I
like,
agree.
you know, some churches that it's like, this thing is, especially in Dallas. I mean, Dallas is like the belt buckle of the Bible Belt, man. They're good at two things. I always say they're good at church, and they're good at business, and they're really good at church business. And they have it down. They have their marketing programs, and you know, water or fresh, and it's like it becomes such a business system. I didn't really see it as much until we moved here, that I kind of got out of that Dallas culture. Dallas has really good people, but there's this toxic Christian culture, in my opinion, that really makes it about people's morals and their good. Like, you know, it almost makes it so you don't. Why do you even need Jesus then? Right? And coming out here from that, after a little while, the first 6 months coming out here, I was like, oh man, I kind of miss it and wanted to come back. But especially after year 1, 2, started getting freed away from that it was so materialistic and so external focused. And out here you have guys that you're like, you know, you have such an eclectic mix of people, and it's not nearly as materialistic as Dallas was.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
Yes.
I've never lived in Dallas, so I can't speak to that. But totally can relate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you two do now that you're settled here in Santa Rosa?
Yeah, I'm an investment advisor. I do that pretty part-time, honestly. We're in sales together, have been for the last 7-8 years, and got new things coming up. So we'll see where the future leads us, but working on some new things, you know, around the training, coaching type industry. So still obviously keeping in line with sales and entrepreneurship and stuff. So I don't know. You're hitting us at an awkward time to where we're in the pursuit of some things that we don't really know how it's going to come to fruition.
We've been pushing really hard for like 7 years in our business, and it's been the greatest blessing ever. But never, at least for me, I've never like given myself permission to take a break, or like we have been in the grind for 7 years, let's be honest, which is awesome, because I'm like, I feel like we did like 50 years of work in 7, and it's been awesome. But this month was like the first month where I was like, I need a season of like healing. And he was like, okay, what does that look like? We live in the perfect place for it. We're on the ocean, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what that looks like, but I just need to pull back. And so this last month was like so unplanned, but September I think was the best month of my life. I got off social media. It's been the grind for social media for so many years.
Oh yeah.
And what I've realized for me is like I've lived my life like this so much that like when I just put my head up, I'm like, oh my gosh, look at all this amazingness, like creation, people, real relationships, you know? And I'm not judging anybody who's on social media, and I'll probably be back on it. But it was just a very like healing month. It was incredible of just, I don't know, like resetting. And so with that and like freeing I told somebody, I was like, my brain and my heart, we had an old Mac desktop one time, and it wouldn't do anything. Like we'd turn it on and it would just think, and you couldn't open a program or anything. So we took it in, and the person was like, well, it's maxed out. It has no space on it. You have to delete it or get a new one or whatever. And I was like, that's where my head and my heart has felt, like just so maxed out, whether it's social media or just the pool of work or whatever. And so this month kind of just freeing that. And I didn't really work any less. It was funny because I think some people thought I was like going to be done with working and take the month off, but it was just more intentional without having social media, like really having to like, you know, pour into exactly the people I was wanting to and stuff. And it was just a very, very awesome month of reset, refresh. The creative,
she's unrecognizable again, as we were talking about earlier. I mean, I'm serious.
Yeah. How much of it, my wife went through the same thing. And when she got off social media for a while, it was like, whoa. Like she'd go out on the porch and read in the middle of the day. And
it's the greatest gift to us as husbands. Am I right?
I loved it.
I told her, you've never done anything in our marriage that has blessed me more than what you've done the last month.
Yeah. Well, we have our annual conference, and it's huge with our company. And with moving here and like not having babysitters, and our kids are involved in a bunch of stuff, it was the first time ever that I didn't go. And I have issues with flying, and that's a whole nother story. So I was like, hey, we're gonna separate for this. You know, you go check off the list. You be there for all our people. You have no problem traveling. I want to be here for our kids. It was our son's first cross country meet. Like, I want to be here, and we have choices, and so we can do this. So he went, and then it started like I started feeling guilty that I wasn't there, and I'm letting people down, and I'm a piece of crap, and all the insecurities and lies were really coming in. And I saw something that said, be where your feet are. And I was like, you know what? My feet are here, and I chose to be here. And so that's why I got off social media. I was like, I know it's going to be hard for me to watch everything that's going on, and I'm going to feel guilty about it. So I got off social media. He had no idea. And so he gets home, and I tell him, and we're talking about it, whatever. And I was like, it's kind of been nice to be off. And so 1 week turned to 2 and 3 and 4, you know. And so he was asking me how it's been for me. And I'm like, it honestly has been the greatest thing. I feel like my brain can like process a whole thought. My creativity flow is coming back, everything. And then when I asked him, I'm like, how do you feel about me being off? He's like, it's the greatest gift you've ever had.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
And even my
Praise.
kids, like I was asking them last night at the dinner table, like, can y'all see a difference with mommy not being on? And they're like, yeah, it's so amazing. You've been like so intentional with us, and you talk to us in the car. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I don't know what that looks like moving forward, because I have worked really freaking hard to build something up, because that's what we're supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
And so I've got like a little bit of a platform, and now I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. So we're just kind of in like a really weird season for timing of answering that question, but also like probably the coolest season we've ever been, because we've given ourselves permission, which I have to have, and been intentional about this season, where if I took time off before, I felt like a fraud. I was like, I'm supposed to be there for everybody, and so I'm going to show face, I'm going to do the training, but like my heart and my head wasn't in it. And so we have just been fully present of like this season, and it's been so cool.
Right. Yeah.
So we don't know what the future holds.
There's your long answer. Sorry.
Stay
No, that's
tuned.
good. I mean, it's you have to take time for yourself, and you can get sucked into that void, especially with social media, and especially if your job. Because I'm similar as well. Like I do a lot of business through social media, and it can, I don't like being on it, but it is. I hate when people call it a necessary evil, I guess. It can be used for good. But at the same time, what I found is like if you get sucked into that, just being on social media, because you know how it is. You get on there, then you end up scrolling, and it becomes almost like an addiction to where and it just creates anxiety, at least for me. Like, I don't even notice it at first, but it does. It creates like a anxiety and a couple other things where I'm like, dude, I don't feel good every time. It can be just 2 minutes. 2 minutes of, and then I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Like, where did I just go? And then I have to sort of like recalibrate myself to get back on track to what I was doing. And I think that's the detriment of it as well. I mean, what I found, I've tried to create a balance of, like sort of like post and ghost. I'm like, yep, boom, there it is. And I'm not looking at it what I just posted. I'm not going back, just continue forward. And I don't care what the comments are. I don't care what people are saying. This is my life, and I'm just going to keep being me. But
so has that worked well for you as far as like a good balance?
Yeah, for sure. I think and it's always a work in progress. It's I don't think you're ever like, oh, I found the perfect solution, but I do think my wife and I definitely try and strike a balance as to where we're not, because it's very easy to, once you're both on the grind, like doing your things, and you guys, it's, at least for us, we can get heavily into it. And then the next thing you know, it's like you pull your head out after 2 weeks and like, what the heck, what are we doing? So I think we both try and find a balance. Like on Sundays, we don't do anything. We call it lazy Sunday. We're like, nope, this is family time. We're not going to do a thing on Sunday. That's and then we also have that, sometimes during the week where it's like, hey, we need to chill out and just focus on us, focus on the kids. And I think we're constantly still trying to strike that balance. It's never, like I said, perfect, but I think if you're constantly working towards that, the better off you'll be. Where I think some people get so driven, and my wife and I both have friends that are like constantly, they have to be doing something all the time. They're like, oh, I got this done. Now I have to go do this. Now I have to go. And you talk to them and you're like, dude, you're giving me anxiety just from like how hard you're working. I'm like, it's a detriment to yourself. There has to be, you have to take a break every once in a while, or else you're going to end up falling off a cliff emotionally and mentally.
We were there for years. Y'all probably had some years like that, especially when you're just hustle. Kids are down, now let's work. And then next thing you know, you're just like, wow, we've been with each other, but we haven't been present. Mm-hmm. And I think one of y'all say it's like a weird season, but to be honest, no one's at this this really clear, everything's, we have complete clarity. Like everyone's always in transition in some way. And if they don't see that, that's probably worse, right? Like it's not completely honest. And so there's always like growth. It's like, man, I think I've figured out some parts of this, right? Like we've figured out some parts of talking with our wives, but like I have not figured out all parts by any means. And I think that's really cool because there's a lot of areas to grow in. But with social media specifically, do you think it is different for more powerful around women getting sucked into social media than it is for men in a way?
I don't know. That's hard for me to say because I'm not a man. But I think honestly, it'd probably be more about like personalities and things that what people struggle with. Mm-hmm. Because I know a lot of guys too that compare. Like for me, I hear other people talk about so many things. I get stressed because I feel like I have to figure out what I'm going to create and what I'm going to do and how to film. And I never had that struggle. I was just always have my phone out, and the more raw and real, I liked it. So I never stressed about that. But then I found myself getting in like a deep, dark, depressing hole at times of the comparison game of being like, oh, I'm not her. I'm not doing it like her. I'm not good enough. I'm not whatever. And I think everybody can struggle with that, whether you're male, female.
Yeah, I don't think there's a difference between male or female when it comes to social media. I think it's, like you said, personality driven. And I know plenty of dudes who are sucked into the social media game, and it drives their life. And it's sad because you're like, it's almost like people, because I have friends who are influencer or whatever, and maybe not friends, it's just people I know. And it's almost like they create a character of themselves. And to me, I'm like, dude, they're constantly on there building this character, like, oh, this is, now I'm doing this or I'm doing this. But I'm like, dude, that's not you. And if you let that take over your life, then you're going to have to constantly be that character that you've created online, and you're not being yourself. And that's a detriment to your family.
Yeah,
you know?
and that's a lot to keep up with. I know a ton of people like that where you meet them in person or you hang out with them in person. You're like, that is not at all what you put on social media. And how hard it must be to live up to that every single day of like your life looking perfect or you're always on a trip or whatever, you know?
And you're not being authentic.
That's right.
No.
Or transparent, you know, which I think that's how you should be as a person. Like, if you're going to do stuff on social media, then be authentic. It doesn't have to be perfect. You know, like you said, you're like, I would just take out my phone and film whatever. And I think people are more drawn to that than the people who sit there and take the time and use all the filters and do this and that to make themselves look like a person that they're not. I think people are drawn to realness.
Yeah. I forget the statistics, but you know, I've heard a lot of things recently of just depression, anxiety from social media. And so it makes me sit back, especially being a mom now. Like, it's one thing if it's just me, but if we go back to it's more caught than taught, you know, I'm like, why would I ever think that when my kids get a phone that they're not going to be like this, scrolling 24/7 if that's what they see me doing, you know? And if I know that it's not going to do a lot of good, I just...
Well, you need to say what you told Bub. Remember, I saw all the kids walking out. I mean, I thought that was profound.
Yeah. Kyle was at the middle school here the other day, and our son runs cross country, so we're in the backfield, and a bunch of kids walk home through the backfield, and you said you saw tons of kids walk out. I wasn't with you. And every single one of them was looking down just on their phone and never looked up. And so that's kind of what I was referring to is, you know, I started thinking, I'm like, man, our kids... And I hate to say stuff like this because I'm not trying to sound cocky, but like, what an advantage in life just to put your head up, you know? Like, I know phones we all have them and they can be great. It's a tool. But just a huge advantage in life of putting your head up.
And just having regular social skills where looking somebody in the eye when you're talking to them, you know, and stuff like that, where I think kids are losing the ability to do that nowadays because they're all on a device. And we struggle with it too. You know, our youngest is 14, you know, and then our oldest is all over 23. And it's a battle. I mean, because I think you know, Ryan, our youngest, we didn't get him a phone until this year. He's a freshman in high school. And even then we were like, ugh, like, do we want to do this? But they do need a phone. I mean, they get to a certain age and all the other kids have phones. And, you know, at first we were like, so what? We don't care. But then it ends up being a detriment to them, too, because they're like, well, I can't communicate with my friends, because that's how they all communicate now, Snapchat or all these other different apps. And I think, like, we still struggle with it because no matter what, once you get them that phone, they're sucked into it, and you just have to set guidelines, I think, and be like, hey, you can't be on your phone from this time to this time, or it's taken away. Like we had an app for our daughter. It would shut off at 8:30, you know, like you can't use any of the apps or anything.
We're not,
it's crazy.
We're not there yet at, you know, that age with kids, but I'm like, I'm not ready for it either, because I also know the flip side of that, where you can keep stuff from your kids for so long that, you know, I moved out when I was 17 and
Exactly.
I'm like, so how can you teach them in a healthy way while they still have parents that are involved, and you can show them what it looks like versus just, no, you can't have it. And then they move out and, you know, do it all on their own.
And they blow up with it.
I love y'all's principle, though, of it's more caught than taught. You know, that's a solid principle of, hey, we're demonstrating through, we're not just preaching at our kids or talking at our kids, but we are demonstrating it. We're demonstrating our marriage. We're demonstrating personally. They see, hey, mom was successful on Instagram and social media and all that stuff, but then she's also taking time and separating herself and getting healthy. It's like, we're all of us we're not going to be perfect at any of this stuff, but like we're going to try. We're going to try and grow in it. We're going to try and be a good parent.
Well, you set the example. Yeah.
It makes you look in the mirror a lot more versus just being like, because I said so. Do this, do this, do this. Because I've heard that this is how you're supposed to act or what you're supposed to do, you know? Oh. And I'm really, really big on, like, it's a thing. Even last night we were having conversation. But I'm really big on taking everything to like a heart issue, because if it's just behavior modification, like anybody can do that. Anybody can act a certain way or put on a front for you so that you're happy. But I'm like, that's not setting you up for success either. And so how can we like actually get to the root of this and figure out what the heart issue is so that you can learn and move on? But him and my daughter are very similar. And every time I start doing this, they're like, where are we going to dinner, Mom? We get it. We get it. We get it. Forgive people, love them, move on.
No, we're good the first 15 minutes. After that, we're like, we got it. Don't tease it.
Yeah.
Eyes glaze over.
Yeah. We look at each other like, we got you, Bowman. We got you. I love it. No, I do.
No, it's all good.
It is. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out here. And
It's our honor. Thank y'all for having us.
yeah.
Yes, thanks for having us.
We may have to have another one with you guys.
Yeah, especially when maybe whatever you guys got going on right now takes off, and then you come back on here and we can talk about it for sure.
Lord willing, we'd love to. It was an honor. We enjoyed it. Thank y'all.
Yeah, thank you for your service again. We
Oh,
appreciate it.
it's my privilege. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Out.
That's fun. I've never done it with headphones. It's like you're in a little